Aysun Öz'e Başka Şeyler'den merhabalar. Bugün Contemporary İstanbul'dan, Tersane İstanbul'dan sesleniyoruz. Çok önemli bir konuğum var. Contemporary İstanbul'un 20. yılında ve uzun yıllarda Contemporary İstanbul'un destekçisi Borusan Otomobil'in markalarından BMW daha doğrusu. Çünkü çok önemli bir konuğum var yanımda. BMW Grup, Kültür, Etkileşimi Küresel Lideri Profesör Thomas Gerst. Welcome to Istanbul. Welcome to Contemporary Istanbul.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. It's the first time these two art cars are shown together. Istanbuliot. French people say Istanbuliot. Mm-hmm. Istanbulites are lucky. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Well, you know, we've been partners with Istanbul Contemporary for quite some time, and it's just amazing to have the setup here, you know, to have Julie Mehretu's art car number 20 here from just a year ago when it was racing at the 24-hour race at Le Mans, and also have the very first car that started it all. 50th anniversary we're celebrating. The Art Car World Tour is taking place throughout many countries around the world. So now we have a stop here, and I love the setup, I love the booth, I love the anniversary of Istanbul Contemporary. The biennial is going on. So much going on in Turkey that I feel absolutely blessed to be here.
Yes, I can say, and again, we are lucky. Has the story of art cars stretching from racetracks to art galleries over the past 20 years also reflected the change in art and trends during that time?
But, you know, I want to tell you one thing about the history, the tradition, and the heritage is really important when it comes to the BMW art cars. And artists have been fascinated with the car, with individual mobility, also critical of it, obviously, you know, from the invention of the automobile. In 1909, the Futurist Manifesto was published, hailing the car as the sculpture of modernity, you know, getting passionate about the racing, the smell of the car, the speed of the car. So all of this was in place when we started the BMW Art Car series in 1975 with the amazing artist Alexander Calder. But one thing I think is of importance here, it wasn't because PR and marketing people at BMW headquarters thought, how can we introduce BMW to the arts? We have been active in the arts for over 50 years with opera houses, with jazz, with orchestras, with art fairs and everything. The art cars came out of the passion for racing, for technology, motorsports, arts, design, lifestyle coming together at the racetrack of Le Mans, the 24-hour race of Le Mans, the greatest endurance race on the planet. Our BMW Motorsports director, Jochen Nerpasch, Hervé Poulain, who was a race driver, who knew all these artists, they put their heads together thinking, what can we do with art and cars and racing? And that's how the Alexander Calder car came into being. This was never meant to be a series. The car drives out of the pit stop. It's little children, they love the car, the colors on the car. It's parents, they're clapping. And then we thought, why not continue the series? Why not do something? Because there's such an interest, and artists are so creative, thinking ahead way into the future. So this is what this series is about. And of course, it's no longer about just painting. Chao Fei, a great Chinese artist, she introduced augmented reality, digital art to it. You know, there's so many artists working with the latest technologies that we, of course, want to make their vision come true.
Yeah, I see. When automobile is object of desire merge with art, what kind of impact does it have on art audience?
That is actually, I think it's a very good question. I think let's say if we look at Renaissance art even, right? The moment the binoculars, the telescope was invented, art changed, you know. All of a sudden three-dimensionality comes in. All of a sudden places that are far away are depicted in the back of the picture, in the background. So I think there's always a relationship between artists and the latest technology. But the technology is a tool. You know, it's not something that replaces art, but it is something that artists can dabble with creatively. And I think that is also important when it comes to the Art Car series. We honor the creative freedom of any artist. They can do whatever they want. And I think only then can great works of art come into being, if the artists are free to do what it is that they want to do. Our engineers and designers, in order to tackle the questions of individual mobility for today and for the future, they need that freedom as well. So that creative freedom, I think, is is of essence. And when it comes to the art car artists, what I found interesting, for example, Frank Stella creates the 3.0 CSL a year after Alexander Calder's car that we see here. And what does he do? He's a painter. All of a sudden he becomes a sculptor. Later in his life he became a sculptor, and he always said, it's because I worked on a three-dimensional object. And he also got interested into racing. Julie Mehretu is a painter. All of a sudden she deals with a sculpture. She calls this not a rolling sculpture, but a performative painting. And I think, the fierceness and the power, with her work being led on to a sports car, the BMW hybrid V8, just brings out other aspects of all of these artists' work that I think stand the test of time.
Yeah, I see. And I think freedom is very important, especially for art.
Yeah.
Many brands want to come together with art. One of the ones that does this best is BMW, especially with its art cars. As an academic and consultant, what are your thoughts on the communication and association of brands with art?
You can do a lot of things wrong, and you can do things right. You do things wrong when you think artists are just there to sing your song. That's what I mean. Artists should remain critical. Freedom of thought also means you have a different opinion. You can, and I think that the art world is great for that, to have that dialogue. People speak of dialogue, speak of collaboration, and they don't really do it because they just throw money at an artist who then sings the song of a company. I think that's wrong. That's not good for the company. That is not good for the artist. So what we're looking for, and also you would also be jumping from event to event. You do one thing here, you do one thing there. There's no strategy in place. This history, heritage, tradition of 50 years of BMW art cars, that's a long trajectory. That is 5 decades, that's half a century. And I think what should guide you, besides the freedom that we spoke about, is that you have to have artists that you work with. It's not about just transaction. Money going from the company to the artist, money going from A to B, that's a transaction. That is sponsorship. But I think of it as interaction. Interaction is a long-term relationship. We've all been in long-term relationships. We know it's not always easy, having a partner for a long time, but you work it out if you want to work together, if you consider yourself a team. So I think when it comes to the interaction, we can offer a worldwide network, we can offer know-how, we can offer expertise, we can offer access to museums that we work with. If artists want to delve into that, if artists want to work with our designers and engineers, I think then something great can come together that benefits the brand, the visibility, the reputation, the image. That's what it's there for. Don't have anybody tell you anything else. There's no altruism from company side. But at the same time, the artist should not just be some paid person fulfilling the vision of a company. That would not be good. So it's not an easy territory, but I think it's a challenging one, and it's a very beneficial one for everyone who's looking for meaning.
How would you describe young people's interest and curiosity in art? How does Generation Z view and consume art, and where do you think art is heading with this generation?
I spoke with an art professor in New York, Arthur Dento, who passed away some years ago. He was an amazing authority on modern and contemporary art, and he was a little bit afraid that people that would enter the art sector, they're only going in there for the fame, for the glory, for the money. I think that's as despicable as it is wrong. What you have to look for, and I think Maurizio Cattelan said it, it's a sense of urgency. If you cannot do anything but create art, then do it. You know what I mean? There's this sense of urgency. Ed Ruscha said once, bad art is wow, huh? And good art is, huh? Wow. It's and I think when artists or those younger generations resonate with art, I think they're not as critical anymore of big collaborations, with fashion brands and luxury brands and so forth. And of course they love the visual, but I think they are also in awe of oil painting all of a sudden in the digital age. I think there's something having to do with the digital detox, with museums being like the last refuges of authenticity, that I think will have even younger generations interested in the arts, in museums, to delve deep within yourself, because that is what art can reveal. Nobody dares to delve very deep inside of themselves. Artists do that for you, and you can resonate. You can create meaning by having a resonance. And I think that's what younger people, at least my children, are also looking for.
Have you ever driven one of the art cars? Would you like to?
No. I like to drive cars. I'm not a race driver. I know my limits. Never, ever. No temptation, nothing. I'm happy that they're being driven. They have to race on the racetrack. That's important for them. Unfortunately, the Mehretu car, we crashed at the 24-hour race of Le Mans. Luckily, no one got hurt. But it's important that they race, that they, the badge of honor, their spurs have to be earned on the racetrack, but only once. And then there are museum pieces, that tour the world and make people happy, make people think. And you will never see me. No ambition whatsoever, just being scared. You will never see me in a race car. No interest.
Yeah, I think so. Me too.
Co-driver, yes. But
of course.
That's, yeah.
Which is your favorite art cars? My favorite art cars, Olafur Eliasson art cars, because I met Olafur.
Of course. Olafur is super smart. He had all the liberties with this car because the car had already raced. It was a H2R hydrogen car solely running on hydrogen. So after that, it was given, presented to him in his studio. There's always an independent jury that chooses those artists. It's not us. Museum directors from around the world. Of course, they picked Olafur Eliasson 15 years ago. And but the thing is, he could do with the car whatever he wanted. Those cars, they have to race after the artists are doing something with them. Calder, Mehretu. So, as you know, the weight is essential with racing. They even cut off screws to make the car lighter. So they cannot do anything that interferes with the aerodynamics or with the weight of the car. Having said that, I'm happy that Olafur Eliasson is such a smart, amazing man, an artist, is your favorite. You met him. I have 3 children. Somebody asked me, who's your favorite kid? I couldn't tell. I love them all, yeah? If I had to choose, I would always go with the first one. Alexander Calder, the primary colors, the red, the yellow, the blue, out of which all the other cars evolved. Without his car, there would be no other BMW art cars. And then obviously, the artists that I worked with. Ever since I entered the company, I worked with Olafur Eliasson. I worked with John Baldessari, with Chow Fei, with Jeff Koons, and now with Julie Mehretu. So of course, you have a close relationship with the artists that you work with over years. And that's actually one of the most beneficial parts of my work at BMW, being responsible for the global engagement of what we do culturally worldwide, is the close encounter and dialogue with the artists. And I think we see the results and can be very happy.
Yes. And last question.
Yes.
I have a book, Ofistike Şeyler. Yes, I write in Ofistike Şeyler. Art is a powerful way to understand what is happening and even to sense what's coming. Do you think artists, art institutions and audiences make enough use of this function?
I truly believe, and I know you wrote a book about office and you spoke with a lot of people, a lot of artists, so you are in between these worlds, right? There's the office, there's the business case, there's the brand, and then you have the artists. And I think ideally, artists, not all the artists are great, obviously, but ideally those artists that resonate with you, that open doors for you, that make you delve deeper inside of yourself, I think can be really an amazing thing to happen to you, because artists are, and we don't have to be if you're working in a company, artists are seismographs of what is going on, of good things and bad things. There's not only good things around us. So I think we should listen to artists more. They don't have to have tangible results, but I think they are free thinkers, ideally, and they make us ask questions. They make us challenge. I always say Picasso's Guernica never stopped the war from happening. Art is not an agent of change, as it is an agent for you to question what is going on, get a fresh perspective. And I think that's where art, also music, That's where everything that we can do within culture is really unique and something that is an amazing achievement of humankind on this planet.
Thanks so much for interview, for 2 cars together in Istanbul.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. See
Aysun,
you.
I thank you for all of your great questions, and it was fun. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks so much.